Hi, this is Brass Check, and we're recording this on September 25th, a Monday, 2023. We finally have some in-house smarts so that we can produce these videos a lot faster without having to get a lot of different people involved. And so I'm having some fun, and I'm catching up on some old material that I wish I had handled earlier. This came from actually just about a week ago, and it's Joe Rogan. And I love to talk about the $1 million podcasters. It's kind of fun, you know. So here it is, late September 2023, and he and Bill Maher are finally getting the balls, so to speak, to talk about the trans agenda and how horrific it is. And notice he's using language that Brass Check has been using for years. And we're going to show some of our previous reporting on this that goes back 4 years. So it's easy to talk about this stuff when it's safe. Believe me, the people that talked about this early really took a lot of risks. So anyway, here's the $1 million podcasters coming out when it's safe.
It's terrifying that they're calling it gender affirming care when it's really childhood mutilation before you have the ability to figure out what permanent means. You're fucking 7 years old. You can't get your face tattooed.
No.
You can't go to war. You can't get married. There's reasons for all that stuff. You're too young. And this idea that you should be able to make life-changing choices like hormone blockers,
Right.
which are, A, not reversible, no matter what the fuck they say. They say it's reversible. No, the changes happen to your body during puberty, and if you stop those changes, that change is no, you can't reverse that. You're going to have a micropenis. You're taking estrogen while your body's developing. You're blocking your testosterone. If you're doing all that stuff, it's going to have an effect on your body. Now, if you're happy with that effect and you don't care, okay. But how many people aren't? And how many people are young? And how many detransitioners are there who have horrible stories? And you're a monster and a bigot if you even bring that up, which is fucking insane.
No, I couldn't agree more.
Okay, well, it's great to see these guys with huge platforms finally getting around to talk about this. We've been saying that the gender affirming care nonsense should never have been, the wording should never have been allowed. At minimum, it should be called what it used to be called, which is a sex change. And really what it needs to be called, which is what Brass Check has been calling it, is surgical and chemical mutilation of children. Okay, that's what it is. And again, we've been on this since 2019. That's 4 years ago. This whole thing, has been around for decades and decades, but it was something that, the rare adult got involved in, and it was mainstreamed. The foundation for mainstreaming it took place under Obama. And for those of you that are huge fans of Donald Trump, he slept through it. So that by the time Biden came in, they were, foot to the pedal. And it's gone insane. If you've looked at some of our programs from, I don't know, a couple of months ago, we did the reporting, hardly known anywhere, that the money that was sent to the public schools to help them rebuild after the disaster of COVID had a hook in it. And that hook in it was that the schools had to include gender counseling, which all the schools went along with, by the way. You can count probably on the fingers of one hand the public schools in this country that did not agree to start offering gender-affirming counseling to children, right? And so they're talking about having mental health programs for children. Well, what does that mental health include? Well, it includes, counseling on how to change your gender. And of course, we have sick states like California, where if a child determines he or she wants to do this, the parents can't say no. And then we have a sick state like New York that says, hey, if you want to do this and you're a kid, come on in. We won't do anything to stop it. So again, we've been on this since 2019. That's 4 years ago. Not the first, obviously, but we have been on it for 4 years. And I want to show you some video that I don't think anybody, very few people have seen on the internet. It's very important for understanding all of this. Okay, so what comes next is a lecture delivered by a professor at Vanderbilt University to a whole bunch of other physicians from, I believe, all over. This is an MD. She is not a surgeon. What's her training? Internal medicine and pediatrics. And what she is doing is giving a lecture to encourage hospitals to perform sexual mutilation surgery on children. And and by the way, her name is Shane Saybold Taylor. Now, I'm not singling her out, but she is a public figure, and this is a public speech. She's not the only one doing this. I mean, this is an industry all over the nation, but she's talking very specifically about dollars and cents and why this is so lucrative to the hospitals. Now, I cranked up the audio. I hope it comes through. We will see what happens.
These surgeries are labor intensive. They require a lot of follow-ups. They require a lot of OR time, and they make money. They make money for the hospital.
If you were going to assert conscience.
Okay, I don't know if you heard that, but what did she say? She said they make money. They're labor intensive and they make money. Not this is good, not this helps children, not this is good for society, not this is medically sound, not this is ethically sound. None of that. Just simply it makes money. And she talks about, well, they say it's 20,000, but that's just the surgeon's fee. There's an anesthesiologist. This I can tell you. She didn't say this, but I can tell you this. The anesthesiologist gets almost as much as the surgeon. Then the hospital gets paid for the operating room and the nurses and all the equipment marked up to the moon. That doesn't come cheap. So by the time the hospital's done with one of these mutilation surgeries, it's 50,000, 70,000. And then there's the follow-up, which of course all these hospitals love. So this again is a non-surgeon. She's got her undergraduate studies were in women, gender, and sexuality studies and biology. And then she went and got an MD, and now she's at Vanderbilt University pushing sexual mutilation surgery on children. Again, not singling her out. She's got a lot of friends doing the same thing. So now I want to play, and our technology is not that great, but it's better than it was. And I'm going to play another talk related, same event, another person. And we've cranked the audio up as much as we can, and hopefully you can hear what this person has to say.
To assert conscientious objection, you have to realize that that is problematic. You are doing something to another person, and you are not paying for the cost for your belief. I think that is a real, I think that's a real issue. So I think, so yes, Vanderbilt, if someone has a conscientious objection to participating in this sort of surgery, it probably has to accommodate you to the extent that you can find another person who can do your job, who doesn't have an objection, other things of that nature. But I just want you to take home that saying that you're not going to do something because of your conscientious, because of your religious beliefs, is not without consequences. And it should not be without consequences. And I just want to put that out there.
Okay, I hope you heard that. We did our best to convey it to you. I hope you heard that. She was addressing, somebody asked the question about conscientious objection, like, hey, I work for Vanderbilt. I don't want to be involved in this. And her answer was, well, that's problematic. And your refusal to be involved in these procedures will have consequences, and they should have consequences. Yeah, That's how they're talking in hospitals, in case, shocking, but kind of makes sense. How else could this be going on unless you had people like this speaking and thinking like this? This person's name is Dr. Ellen Clayton. And I had all her data here, and I got to go find it now. Okay, found it. We've got to do these things on the fly, or otherwise they'll never get done. Her name is Ellen Wright Clayton, also at Vanderbilt. She's a attorney and an MD. She's a professor of general pediatrics, not a surgeon. She's somehow involved in genetics and health policy. And she's a professor of law. Now, here's where it really gets interesting. She's the co-founder of the Center for Biomedical Ethics and Society at Vanderbilt. And this is how this system works. We're working on a book, and boy, we could use your support in producing it, because it is labor intensive. It's called the Nuremberg Code and its Modern Enemies. And one of the things we do in this book, which nobody else has done, is we track the evolution of the medical ethics profession. And we show that the medical ethics profession was created solely so that people like Ellen Wright Clayton can endorse and promote these kind of actions. So she's not only saying that it's okay to sexually and chemically mutilate children, she is telling the staff at Vanderbilt that if they don't go along with it and they have a conscientious objection, and she calls it a religious objection, I don't think you need to be religious or not to object to this. But she says, if you have an objection and you work for our institution, it's problematic, and there will be consequences, and there should be consequences. That's Ellen Wright Clayton, JD, MD, who also happens to be a bioethicist at Vanderbilt. So not singling these two people out. Every university that does this has a similar group of people. And I'm going to show you some websites in a second to show you how big all this actually is. Okay, just to show you how large this is, how many different surgeons are involved, how many different hospitals are involved, the different procedures that are involved, and all the states that are involved, and all the countries that are involved, and all enabled by hospitals, state governments, some state governments, not all, state governments, and also by ethics professors like Professor Clayton. She's not the only one. She's part of a national and international, really, network of people that not only provide ethical smoke screens to justify the chemical and surgical mutilation of children, but also right in front of, and you saw the video, threaten the employees of hospitals that refuse to participate in these procedures. So this is one body of information, and I'm going to show you another one. Okay, and this is the New York City Public Hospitals bragging about a milestone they've performed, what they call gender affirming, and this is the problem. It's sexual mutilation. That's what it is. And they're bragging about the fact they've performed 100 of these. I don't know what date this is. Doesn't say how many children were involved. But this is the same New York public hospital system that murdered countless hundreds, if not thousands, of people during the COVID panic, putting everybody that walked in the door on a ventilator, even though they didn't need it. Using a vent was not medically called for, and they didn't even have the people to run the vents properly. So they were okay with that. Meanwhile, they're taking tax dollars and providing this. Oh, and they're bragging that they can do it on a 6-week schedule, which I guess would help when the counselors are trying to convince children that they should do this. So that's another example of this. And let me see if I can find another thing for you to look at. Okay, and this is another important article. This came from about a year ago. At least 13 U.S. hospitals perform gender transition surgery on minors, and minors are children. Right? Just, again, gender affirming minors, no, sexual and chemical mutilation of children done in hospitals by surgeons under cover of so-called medical ethicists who, in the case of the person I referred to earlier, Professor Clayton, they will also wheel her out to threaten any employees that have objection to this. So this is the deal. So good that Rogan and Bill Maher in 2023 are finally on it. We've been on it since 2019, and there have been a lot of people who have been on it for much longer. And we're going to put some of the videos that we posted in 2019 below, and you can watch them, and you can see the savage attacks that doctors and scientists have been subjected to when they simply question what's going on. You're not allowed to question. So just to do a recap, this thing's a huge moneymaker for the hospitals involved. Anywhere from $80,000 to $100,000 when all the bills come due, plus the follow-up. And that's what got, and she made a public appearance. Her name is Shane Saybold Taylor of Vanderbilt. And you could just hear the excitement in her voice when she talked about how lucrative these salaries are. And then that's the good cop, I guess. And then the bad cop, the lawyer, physician, Alan Clayton, came out and let the employees know at one hospital, at least, that if you don't go along with this, there will be consequences, and there should be. So good for Joe Rogan and Bill Maher to finally wake up. It's great to see the $1 Million podcasters get a clue. You can look below and see all the people that have been working on this issue for years and years and years. It should never have gotten this far. It could have been shut down by Trump. If you're a huge Trump fan, he slept through this one. He slept through a lot of stuff. And this was a big one. This was already full force under his watch. And somehow he had nothing to say about it. So just keep that in mind. And then, of course, once they had Biden in, it didn't really accelerate all that much. It was already in place and going. And the difference now, and we did this report a couple of weeks ago, is that when the federal government gave money to all the public schools in the United States to help them deal with the costs related to the COVID panic, this COVID scam, the scamdemic, they had a hook in it. And the hook was, if you get this money, you have to agree to include all this gender curriculum. And a big part of the gender curriculum is designed, I don't know how else to describe it. It's designed to get young children, small children, to start questioning whether they're a boy or a girl very early on in their lives. And then there's counseling, and that's also part of this money. And that counseling, you better believe, includes taking anybody who's got any kind of a problem and pointing them towards this path. We know why the doctors are doing it, why the surgeons and the hospitals are doing it. They're making big money. Not so clear why the federal government is involved in this, but they're in it. They're making it possible. They're enabling it. And of course, the news media, they're enabling it and making it possible. And then there is a group of extremist troll mobs that have been attacking individuals for years and years and years. It apparently is now safe because Joe Rogan and Bill Maher are finally, saying something. But believe me, and you'll see the videos below, what people have gone through that have tried to stop this and what a lonely task it was for them. Again, we've been on it for 4 years. Great to see the $1 Million podcasters get on it. Hopefully these videos are enlightening to you, and there's always an infrastructure behind everything, and there's always logistics. It's never just something that's just sort of happening. No, some group of people planned it out and worked it out step by step meticulously, changing the federal laws, changing the state laws, getting the corrupt, and I will call them corrupt and crooked medical ethicists to get on board, selling the greedy hospitals into, remember, these are hospitals that were happy to murder people for money during COVID, right? They were happy to put people on vents to get the bonus money when the people shouldn't be on vents. And anybody that knows the whole vent process knows that it is a last-ditch effort to keep a dying person alive, and you are just as likely to kill them on a vent as save them, right? So when the hospitals took money to put people on vents who shouldn't be on vents, they were basically getting paid to murder people. That will appear in our book that's coming out soon called What the Nurses Saw. And it's all a forerunner to the next book, which is called the Nuremberg Code and its Modern Enemies, where we're going to talk about the hospitals and the medical ethicists and how they enabled a lot of death and a lot of murder and a lot of injury during the COVID panic. And they continue to. This is a trend. This wasn't a one-off. Okay, this is the trend. Medical ethicists saying yes to everything that pharma wants to do, saying yes to everything that the surgical industrial complex wants to make money from, saying yes to every bizarre, harmful initiative that people that have taken over the governments at various levels want to endorse. Hopefully we're going to turn the corner on it. The fact that people like Rogan are finally talking about it, and he's a little bit too big to attack. So is Bill Maher. Very easy to attack a lone professor, which is what they did. They took these guys out one at a time in the dark. And, you only have to take out a few of them for the rest of them to shut up. And that's what happened. And they just pushed this agenda forward. And it's so many evil things going on, but boy, this just ranks really high. Not singling out Vanderbilt. They're just one of many medical centers that think this is okay, think this is the way of the future. Anyway, that's Brass Check. And do look at the videos below. Again, some of these were posted as long ago as 2019, and it was scary to post them. I got to be honest with you. I don't really want to fight some troll mob. Got enough problems. All right, talk to you later. Bye bye.